AMC built 8 cars in the 1960s and the 1970s that should have changed automotive history. Then they buried every single one. Here is what they killed and why it still matters. Starting things off is a car that almost nobody connects to AMC, and that is exactly the problem. The 1965 AMC Vixen. Designed by Dick Teague, the man who shaped AMC's entire visual identity through the 1960s and the 1970s, the Vixen was a long hood, short deck, fastback coupe built to prove that AMC could do style. Not just practical, not just affordable, actually stylish. The front end carried a quad venturi grille with rectangular headlamps set so far back into the bodywork that they looked recessed. The hood had a functional air intake blister, not decorative, actually working. The roof had a row of vents angled at 45 degrees, designed to improve visibility when reversing. The rear window was finished in such a deep concave recess, with black paint and precisely curved angles, that it appeared to disappear entirely into the body. The rest of the car was finished in bright sun yellow, which meant the Vixen was simultaneously invisible and impossible to ignore. Teague designed it as a loose preview of what would eventually become the 1970 AMC Hornet. The Hornet made it to production. The Vixen never did. Next is the car that started something AMC never quite finished. The 1966 AMC Vignale AMX Prototype. In 1965, AMC's design team, led by Chuck Muskegon and Richard Teague, decided to build a 2-seat sports coupe as part of Project 4, a series of internal idea cars designed to test bold new directions. 4 concepts were shown in private previews. The Vignale AMX was the clear favorite. The original prototype was fiberglass with no engine. Then AMC handed the project to Italian coach builder Vignale, who built a fully steel-bodied version in just under 90 days. That version had a 290 cubic inch Typhoon 5.8, hidden A-pillars, a cantilever roof with a built-in roll bar, a rear fold-down seat, and a ramble seat tucked behind the front occupants. Richard Teague pushed for the name AMX, and it stuck. The wheelbase was 98 inches, close enough to the final production model that the Vignale was clearly the direct ancestor of the car that eventually reached dealerships in 1968. The Vignale itself never did. But every AMX that ever ran a quarter mile owed something to it. Coming up next is the one that still sounds like science fiction. The 1967 AMC Amitron was built as a joint project between American Motors and Gulton Industries. The Amitron was an electric city car measuring just 85 inches long and weighing 1,100 pounds. It seated 3 people and it looked genuinely strange. And underneath that body, it contained engineering that the rest of the automotive world would not catch up to for decades. The battery system combined nickel-cadmium cells for acceleration with a lithium pack for sustained cruising, achieving a range of up to 150 miles at 50 miles per hour. That number in 1967 made every other electric vehicle on the planet look irrelevant. But the detail that matters most is the regenerative braking system. When the Amitron slowed down, the electric motors reversed into generators and fed power back into the batteries. AMC was the first American automaker to develop and demonstrate that system. The Toyota Prius arrived in 1997. The Amitron demonstrated the same core idea in 1967. AMC shelved the project because the battery cost made production financially impossible. The car made one final public appearance in 1977, repainted and renamed the Electron at the Chicago Auto Show. Then it disappeared into the private collection of Chuck Mashigan, the very AMC design chief who had helped create it. It sat hidden for nearly 50 years until it was discovered in a barn and eventually made its way to the Peterson Automotive Museum. Here is one that arrived exactly 1 year too early to matter: the 1968 AMC AMX-GT. Richard Teague took the Javelin, shortened the wheelbase to 97 inches, chopped the roof, trimmed the tail, and produced a fastback coupe that looked like nothing else on an American road. It debuted at the New York Auto Show in red with a white stripe running the full length of the car and over the roof. Plain flush wheel covers, side-mounted exhaust, a ram air hood scoop, a roof spoiler, and fixed rear side windows with no B-pillar at all. Clean and serious. The wheels were later upgraded to 5-spoke alloys and Goodyear white letter tires, and the hood and roof went to dark blue, creating a two-tone scheme that made it onto early AMC race cars before the company standardized on red, white, and blue. None of that made it to a showroom as a production model, but the side pipes showed up on 1969 Javelins and AMXs. The hood scoop inspired the 1970 Geo package. The flat black shadow mask paint became a 1970 AMX production option, and the shortened tail treatment reappeared on the 1970 Gremlin. Teague had a talent for designing things AMC could not quite afford to build, then harvesting the pieces for the cars they could. 4 cars in, and every one of them was buried. The next 4 pushed further still. A mid-engine, 2-seater, built with a tall design that could hit 165 miles per hour. A mid-engine supercar that beat its own speed targets at Monza and still never reached a buyer. A van that stopped crowds in 7 cities and could not even open its doors. And one car AMC was so confident about that they had already ordered 24 additional test units before the program collapsed entirely. Do not skip any of these. Here is where AMC stopped pretending and started building something genuinely serious. The 1969 AMC AMX-2. Designed by Dick Teague and developed in direct partnership with Italdesign in Turin, the AMX-2 was a mid-engine, 2-seater with gullwing doors, a 390 cubic inch V8 producing 340 horsepower and 430 pound-feet of torque, a 4-speed manual, power-assisted disc brakes, and a limited slip differential. The body was just 42 inches high. The wheelbase was 104 inches. Ground clearance was 5.5 inches. Independent double wishbone front suspension and a semi-trailing arm rear suspension. Top speed around 165 miles per hour. 0 to 60 in under 6 seconds. 2 complete examples were built. One now sits at the Kenosha History Center. The other is in private hands. Both are confirmation that AMC in 1969 was capable of building a car that belonged in direct conversation with Ferrari and Lamborghini. The production program was never approved. The prototype survived anyway. Next is the one that actually went to Italy and proved the point on a real circuit, the 1970 AMC AMX-3. Styled by Dick Teague and engineered by Giotto Bizzarini, the same man responsible for the engine of the Ferrari 250 GTO and the Iso Grifo, and hand-built at Autocostruzioni SD in Livorno, the AMX-3 was a mid-engine sports car that arrived at the 1970 Chicago Auto Show looking like it came directly from a Modena design studio. Power came from a 390 cubic inch AMC V8, paired with a 4-speed transaxle built specifically for this car by the Italian firm Automotive, a company that normally made military vehicles. When the car was tested at Monza, Bizzarini and racing driver Antonio Neri posted a lap of 1 minute 59.8 seconds and exceeded the targeted 160 miles per hour top speed, eventually reaching 170 miles per hour with a small chin spoiler added. BMW participated in the testing and certified the chassis. AMC had planned a production run of 1,000 cars and had already ordered 24 additional test vehicles when bumper regulations and the company's deteriorating finances ended the program. 6 cars were built in total. AMC ordered Bizzarini to destroy them all. He did not. Every single one survived. And then there is the one that fooled an entire country. The 1977 AMC AM van. Part of AMC's concept, 80 Tour, a traveling show of concepts that hit 7 American cities. The AM van was the undisputed favorite everywhere it appeared, claiming 31% of the vote at every stop, beating the second-place car by 7 points. Wide tires, flared fenders, side pipes, a deep front air dam, and turbo badging. It looked production-ready. AMC chairman Roy Chapin Jr. had commissioned the Concept 80 Tour specifically to demonstrate that small vehicles could have genuine character, and the AM van made that argument more convincingly than anything else in the show. Audiences in every city responded like it was already real. What none of them knew was that the AM van had a wood frame, a fiberglass body, no drivetrain, doors that were non-functional, and a half-finished interior hidden entirely behind tinted glass. It was a prop. A beautiful, convincing, carefully designed prop that generated more genuine public desire than almost anything AMC had produced in years. The company never built a running version. Richard Teague, the designer behind the Javelin, the AMX, the Jeep Cherokee, and now this. Watch the crowds react to something that could not move under its own power. AMC folded in 1988. The van still exists. It sold at RM Sotheby's in 2022. 8 cars, all physically built, all tested, all buried. AMC had the engineers, the designers, and the ideas. They just never had the nerve to see any of it through. Drop the one that should have made it in the comments.